welcome back to Yonder Ways and Sassy Jack Stitchery. Hopefully it's a little bit sooner than we got back together the last time. Definitely it is from when it actually got recorded. Hopefully I'll get it posted quickly too. Mondays are a good day for me to do this because the shop is closed and I'm usually the only one here. I'm supposed to be taking Sunday and Monday off, and I almost always take Sunday off unless we have a class or we have something really critical going on, just because that's really the only day that I get to spend with my husband, and he's such a good man. He helps me all the time in the shop. I know a lot of you have met him or seen him, but he never ever complains, and he's just always incredibly supportive. But that is the one day that I try to spend time with him and maybe my family as well and his family. So Mondays, though, I play hooky from personal time and I get back in the shop because, you know, we're a young shop. You know, I know you guys know that, but I launched the shop in 2014 from my home in Cary. I still had my job as a corporate accountant. I was an international controller at that time and later became a corporate controller for a couple of public companies and moved around overseas. And so when I launched in 2014, it was at the let's just be nice and call it nagging of my friends in Stitch Group in Raleigh. We were really just like most of you guys, and all of our local shops had closed, and they closed around 2008 or so, 2010, and we had just been without a shop for a long time. And we still got together like a lot of you do, which I'm so grateful to hear those stories. We still got together every week and stitched together, and we would move around from one house to another, and a lot of times it was at my house. And if you've been in my shop, in fact, the table that we're filming out right now, this is my dining room table, and there are so many wonderful warm stitching vibes from this table. So if you have been in the shop, you've probably, you know, stood around this table while we cut fabric, or maybe you sat at this table and stitched with us, but you've seen it in the back with all the fabric. But this is the table that we had a lot of stitch groups at, and it just has a really warm, happy vibe to it. So it's got character. It's a little beat up, and I love that. You know, I could make it look all new if I wanted to, but I really don't. I actually like the little nicks and crannies and rubs and little etchings of leftover love is the way I think of it. So we met at each other's houses, and you know, they knew I wanted to open a shop eventually, and so they just kept asking me, "Hey Kim, you know, why don't you open that shop?" And I think I might have mentioned this before, and so we did. And you know, and it was great, and we did that for, I guess I ran it out of my house maybe once a week or so for about 6 months. Really, it wasn't very long. And then I took another job in St. Croix in the USVI, and I did that so that I could move back home to where I am now in Asheville. And it sounds kind of crazy, but I had a plan, and I always have at least one plan. Most of the time I have several plans, because life takes a lot of twists and turns, and you just don't know. You have to be open to plans B, C, D, and sometimes E if you're going to get where you really want to go. And so that was not plan A to go to St. Croix, but it was in fact, it wasn't even on my list at the time, but it was a viable plan, and it did get me home, and it got me home in a really good way. So I packed up my little shop and moved to St. Croix and ran shop from St. Croix for 2 years, really, because they were still on the U.S. postal system, so that made shipping really easy, though no additional cost, really. Excuse me. and so I ran my little shop online, and it was little, and I say little because it was little. I did the infrastructure. I got the website built, and I did that fun stuff, and I went to market and learned about how the vendor relationships work. But the shop itself was a little, and for all of you people out there who bought things from me in the first 2 or 3 years, you know, thank you very much for that. You were friends then, friends now, and you helped give life to a little dream, and you know, I appreciate that, because you were you know, the first of Sassy's friends, and so we appreciate that. And anyway, so we did that for a couple of years, and then I moved back home and got through some things I needed to do personally with a couple of medical things, and then we opened the shop in March of 2017. So we're really just 2.5 years old from a brick and mortar perspective. And I don't even know what to say about that. I mean, you guys have just been so fantastic. This shop is not, it's not really my shop, in a way it is, but in a way it's your shop. You've kind of made it what it is. I come in here every day and try to keep it alive and keep it healthy and keep it growing and running. And I have a lot of help with that too. So we've got some new staff members hired. We were pretty stoked about that. And they do a lot of the heavy lifting for me. But you guys give it life. And so for that, I appreciate you. You're the reason that we think of the ways that we can interact, and we work hard to try to make things happen. And for me, it's never been about a big business. It's always been about a teaching business and a place where people feel welcome and loved and appreciated. And, I just want to thank you for your part in that, I guess is all I want to say about that. It's been a great 2.5 years. We're still a young shop. We'll be 3 next March. It just kind of hit me last night. I was like, I have to think about what to do for that. 3. It's been a long time since I've been 3. but I'm pretty stoked about it, so it'll be fun. And I love celebrating it on St. Patrick's Day. And, technically we are, I guess, going to be 5.5 if you go back to July of 2014. But like I said, I don't really count those years. That was kind of toe in the water. It wasn't really swimming in the pool. And we've been swimming in the pool now for a couple of years. So anyway, we'll think of something fun for St. Patrick's Day next year. But we are still a young shop. That's where I started out that ramble. And I am very, very grateful for your love of this shop and this industry, because it's not, I don't know, if it's as much the shop that you're living on or the industry. And I think it's the industry, and I'm so proud of that. I want all shops to succeed and all shops to, grow and flourish and do their own thing. We're all a little bit different, and I've got my own favorite shops, and my own favorite shop owners, and some of them have been incredibly inspiring and helpful to me, even in the very, very early days. And for that, I'm incredibly grateful. It's hard to start off as a new shop, and you're not really sure if it's okay to ask, questions to another shop owner. And I had a number of friends who were retired shop owners, and that was great. They were very giving with their information, and I so appreciated that. And then I have a really good friend in Holland who's a current shop owner, Annemiek. Love Annemiek, and she gave me great advice. And then there are some ladies who are still in business who were there for me from the beginning, from the very first market that I went to, that were just very kind and welcoming, and I appreciate them, and they know who they are. And so, I hope that if any of you guys out there are shop owners, that you take new people into your fold. I know that you will. I've tried to be open and helpful to people. I know I'm a newbie. But I bring a good business background, and so hopefully that's helpful to hear that side of it too. But it's so important that we keep some of our brick and mortars open. I don't think we'll ever see the heyday of the 80s again, and that's okay, because we don't have to. Our society has evolved that we can easily buy things online, and I think that's okay. And so for that reason, I think we need online shops. And not everybody can travel everywhere, and we're an online shop. We are a brick and mortar, but we are just as much part and parcel an online shop. And so I'm not putting down online shops at all. I think we need both to survive. But I think we really, really, really want our brick and mortars, some of them, to survive long term, so that you guys have a chance to come inside and you have a chance to just wallow around in fabric, so to speak. But you can get it out of the box, and you can touch it and feel it and see it. And dye lots are different on fabric these days, and you can see what that looks like, and threads are the same way. You want to touch those things. It's really important to us that you do. If you've been in this shop, one of the things that we tell you right away is, please open the bins, please pull the fabric out, touch it, make sure you like it. You're going to spend some time with it. It's not just about the cost. It's about your investment of time. You're going to spend so much time with that fabric. And the threads are the same way. Touch them, feel them, make sure that you are going to be enjoying that experience, because it is about the experience. So, I hope you guys support your brick and mortars, especially as we go into the holiday season. I know it's easy to buy things online, and I know that you get in a hurry, and it's hard to get things done when you've got just such a limited amount of time. But, please do support local business, not just your needlework shops, although I really hope you do. But also, your local shops of any kind, they need you. They really do. They need you to survive. The big box shops, they don't need you. They enjoy you, and they probably do appreciate you, but they don't need you, and there's a difference. So, I hope that you shop with the shops that make your heart happy, and, spend your money where you feel like it needs to be spent, of course. But, think about, is there a local shop that you could support? It's super important to them. So I don't know how I got on that topic. That's my spiel, and that's all I'm going to say about that. So I don't think I've shown you much in terms of my own needlework, and I just need to confess right up front, I'm a serial starter. I love to start. And, I'm one of those people that hope does spring eternal. I do have really strong, good plans of finishing every single one of these projects one day. Well, maybe not some of the ones that I started 10 years ago. Some of them I'm kind of like, maybe not. I'll figure out something to do with those. But the ones I started in the last 2 or 3 years, you betcha, yeah, they're on my list. And I don't start as many as I probably sound like I start. I'm pretty thoughtful about it. But, I have found that my social groups here coming into the shop have lured me into starting a few things. And I say they did. I did too. I've heavily recruited people to stitch with us on a few things. And so I just thought I'd show you some things. One thing I want to show you is a Hoc Hollow. And before I show you the start that I did, which you might have seen it on Facebook, I want to show you an incredibly beautiful finish by a local stitcher. And it's the second one it's the second Hoc Hollow finish of hers that we've had in the shop. I mean, we've got lots of her finishes in the shop. She's just been so kind with sharing her finishes with us. And I have to tell you a story about her. When I moved, and I don't think I've told this on live online before, I don't know. When I moved back home to this area, I was working my day job still. I hadn't opened the shop yet, but I was busy working on our house, which is the Baird house. And if you haven't read about that or heard me talk about that, it's a beautiful folk Victorian, built in 1878. It's literally on the same street that our current shop is on. It is on the National Listing of Historic Homes, and it will one day be the home of our shop. And I know some of you out there are wailing and gnashing teeth because you love Main Street. I love Main Street too, but I am pretty sure that you're going to love that house just as much as you love Main Street. I mean, it's another place that's just got an incredibly wonderful, hopeful, beautiful vibe about it. I think you'll love it. So when I first came home, I focused all of my energy when I wasn't working on that house. And I had a big class coming up with 46 people. So our grand opening for Sassy Jack Stitchery was an event with a class of 46 people already signed up. And Susan Greening Davis was our teacher. And Susan has been a mentor of mine for, the last, at least 15 years of my needlework career, maybe a little bit longer. But I think I met Susan when I broke my ankle in 2006, so 2019. So maybe not quite 15 years, but getting close. And we became good friends, and we're still good friends. And she does teach here quite a bit. And so she was our inaugural teacher in this big, huge class. Well, I used my local church. They have a beautiful gymnasium, and we use that for the class. I feel like I've told this story before, and I know I've told it before. I just can't remember if I've told it to you. So if I have, sorry. Maybe I'll tell something new about it. So just hang with me. So we had this big class plan, and we were going to host it in our local church gymnasium. It's a beautiful space, and the church that I go to, I chose that church. I didn't grow up in that church. I grew up in another local church here, and my mother died when I was 22. And our family kind of struggled after that to find its local church. And so I went to this church, which is called Newbridge Baptist Church. And it's in Woodfin, North Carolina, which is my hometown. It's just right up the street from Weaverville. It's the next town closer to Asheville. And I chose Newbridge because they really did a lot of outreach into the community. And they really reach out to the community and try to be a home for people, and a welcoming home, not a place where they're, forcing you to try to dress a certain way or be something you're not. They have a very similar mentality that I do about life, and is that we're all just human beings, and we're on a pretty equal playing field in terms of our importance in the world. We are all important in the world, and we're all important to somebody. And what you do with your life is what's, where your talent comes in and where you should invest your time. And there's lots of little ways to be positive and impactful. And that's kind of how they approach things too. And so it was a great marriage for me to go there. And then the rest of my family started going there. And then I moved away. so now I'm the stranger. It's really kind of fun. So the rest of my family goes there, most of them, not all of them. And when I go there, I'm a visitor, which is just kind of crazy. But I was away for 25 years, and my dad went there until he passed away. My brother goes there, my nephews, my nieces. It's just one of those family kind of gathering places. But for me, it was great to be able to host our first class there too. They were really generous with that. And the problem became that we were desperately trying to finish our house so that we could have a shop. So we had a teacher, we had a class, we had a classroom, but we didn't have a shop. and time was getting away from me. And so we're working really, 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 really hard on getting this, 150-year-old house refurbished and ready to be turned into a retail space. And this house had a really neat history. It only ever belonged to one family, and that was the Baird family. And of course, they were Scotch-Irish Americans. They immigrated here. And the two brothers came in, and they were merchants in downtown Asheville. And one of them built this house. And then he married, and they owned many, many hundreds of acres in the North Asheville area, which have now all been sold. And they had one child, and then the one son lived there until he died at the age of 90. And so he was still around when I was a kid. In fact, he was around until I think 2000 is when he died. So I was quite the adult by then. But local people still know him, and there's still lots of neat stories about the house. And so that's the history of how the house came to be. It got preserved. That was part of the requirement of the sale of the property after Mr. Baird died. His name was Henry Baird. And so after Mr. Henry Baird died, the property went to a developer with the requirement that the house be preserved. And so nobody had lived in this house for 15, 16 years when we bought it. It had sat empty. And as a testament to my neighborhood that I grew up in, it is in the same exact hometown that I grew up in, there was like next to no damage to that house. It was just amazing. So I went with my realtor, and in fact, it was kind of funny because I love my realtor. And if you ever need a good realtor, let me know. I can hook you up because this guy is honest as the day is long. And he helped me buy and sell a few properties here. And I love him to no end. His name is Lynn McFarland, and he is Asheville Bulldog Realty. So if you ever think about moving closer to your chosen needlework shop, we would love to have you. And Lynn would be your guy. But Lynn was sick that day, and so he sent his helper. And his helper was like, I think I'll just wait outside. If that tells you anything about what he thought about the house, because the house had sat empty a long time, and the back door was literally laying down inside the house. I mean, it wasn't like leaned up against the house. It was laying down on the floor. So the house is pretty much wide open, and it's the early spring, so it's still kind of cold here. And I walk into the house, and I just fell in love. And I've been in a lot of old houses. I grew up in an old house built in the 1920s, old for us in America. And I had bought some rental properties because when I decided to leave my corporate career and move home to my hometown, I invested what little money I had into rental properties and single family rental properties. And I put every penny I had into my hometown of Woodfin. And that was, it was a testament to my family, because my family lived there for a couple, 3 generations, and they were merchants and workers, and just regular people. And I wanted to do that to honor my family. So, anyway, emotional to think about that, because my dad's gone now too. But that's what I wanted to do with my personal assets. I felt like my family had supported me in all the things that I wanted to do, and I wanted to, in some small way, honor them. Sorry. So this house, you walk into it, and it's just got such a warm vibe, and it's completely empty, sadly. The people that it belonged to a realtor for just a really short period of time, not my realtor, somebody else. And the realtor, I guess, was going to rehab the house, but they took out the mantles from it, and they took out the hardware, they took out the doors. So they took out what you might think of as the heart of the house. And so those things were gone, but that house, I'm telling you, had so much more heart, and still does. It's got such a warm, beautiful vibe to it. And so it has been my practice, when you walk into an old house, to spend some time in there and really feel the house. And that's what we did. And so my husband, who was my boyfriend at the time, we've only been married since 2016. I don't think he was even with me, because I tended to do those things on my own, especially in the beginning. And I still kind of do that. I still kind of light out on my own and figure out where my head is, where my heart is, and then I might start pulling people in for their opinions and their advice and things like that. But sometimes I step down a path and I'm like, no. And there's no point in wasting somebody else's time saying, hey, what do you think about this, till I know what I think about it. And so I think it was just me, and I think I was in there by myself, because, as I mentioned, I think that the realtor stayed outside, at least in the beginning, till I told him it was safe. And so he's not with one anymore. He's gone. He's doing his own thing, which I love him too. I love the other guy too. But it was just kind of funny, because there's, he wasn't sure what was going to be in that old house that sat there so long, empty. And so I was standing in there in the house, and it just had this incredible, hopeful vibe. And I know I use that word a lot, but that's important in life. And I do come across that a lot. That's a very tangible feeling. And that was very applicable to this house. And so anyway, I ended up buying the house, and had great plans for it. And I bought the house in 2014, and in 2015 I started working on it. And I met Leslie Hale, who the story has been leading to for a while. It's going to be a rambling video, and I don't think I'm going to cut any of it out. I'm going to make you suffer through it. Leslie Hale, who is local to this area, and well, she's not from here. She lived in Texas before she came here, and I can't remember if she's actually from Texas or not, and shame on me, I should remember that. I want to say she's from Texas, and maybe she is from Texas, because I think of her as a Texan. But she is relocated here to North Carolina with her husband, and I was at the house one day, and I mentioned that we were desperately trying to get ready for this 46-person class, and it had to be September, October, because it was a little bit cold. And we had just gotten our big sign put up out there, which is still there. If you've been here and driven by, you still see the sign that says Sassy Stitchery. And then there's another sign attached to it over on the side that says 3.5 miles north on Main Street. So we've got this big, giant, beautiful sign out there. And we just had the sign put up, and I wanted to take a picture of it. And something was going on. I can't remember if I think I had my work phone, but I didn't have my personal phone or something. There was something weird going on, and I couldn't take a picture of it. And I posted something about that online. And I was still at the house, and I had only posted it, like 5 minutes before, or 10 minutes before, whatever. I was still at the house messing around, looking at my new sign, hoping that we finished the 2 years worth of work standing behind us by March. And it was October. Hopefulness, right? And so out drives this car, and out hops this woman who's, just a sweet, genuine personality. You could tell from the minute she hopped out of the truck. And it was Leslie. And so she said, I saw your post. I know you don't know me. I'm so excited about your shop. I just can't wait to open. I wanted to come and help you take a picture. And I was like, are you kidding me? I mean, I was so excited. So Leslie was my first stitching friend here in the local area, because remember, I had been gone for like 25 years, and I did not know anybody here locally who stitched at all. And so Leslie was the first person I ever met who lived in the area who stitched, and she's been one of my biggest supporters and biggest fans since the moment that I met her, and actually before, because she was watching our little post and just excited. And Leslie is one of a few people who actually help us put together the little needles that you get in all your purchases. So most of the time when you buy something from Sassy Jacks, we give you a free needle, because we just really feel like you should have no excuse not to go home and stitch, or maybe stitch in the car on your way, assuming you're not driving. So we give you a needle with that, and she's one of a few people who help us with that. We started out doing it ourselves, and it just quickly, it's just too much for us. So Leslie, bless her heart, along with a couple of recruits, she's recruited a few friends in to help her. They're also part of our local stitch group. They work on those needles for you. So maybe one day I'll get Leslie on camera, but if you watch close, you'll see her picture show up on Facebook. Anyway, really super long, rambling story to lead you up to the person that stitched this Hoc Hollow. So I'm going to show you her Christmas finish. We did have fall at Hoc Hollow up here from Leslie for probably 2 years, and when she finished Christmas, we definitely were grateful to have the model come in, and we let her take her fall home. You almost have to make Leslie take her stuff back. She's just such a generous person, and she loves her needlework. She really does, and she displays it at home, and she gives things to people that she knows will appreciate it. Her needlework's important to her, and she's a great needle woman. And so we're just so grateful that she lets us have her stuff on display. And we've got some other friends who do the same, and so we appreciate you all. So I'm going to just hop up here and grab Christmas at Hoc, and I will be right back. Okay, so this is Christmas at Hoc Hollow, and it's just really beautiful. And I watched Leslie stitch on this for a long time, and she was stitching on it at the Prim Stitchers Retreat that we went to back in the spring. But just beautiful. And you'll notice that she did change the very last block. She changed the verse to something that she really liked a lot better. And that block with the ship, that's like solid stitching. So it's just such a beautiful, beautiful piece. All the Hoc are. And so this hangs on the wall here at Sassy Jacks, and we're super happy to have it. But that inspired me to start my own Hoc run, which I've never stitched one. And I decided to do Halloween at Hoc Hollow. And I made a post about it, and I know a lot of you are stitching it with us, which is great. This is what Halloween at Hoc Hollow looks like. So really pretty cool. Got a lot of almost solid stitching in there. This is the front of the chart. But I'm really excited about it. It's my first, it's Carriage House Samplings is the designer for this, and this one is a 2017 piece, but I'm really super, super excited about it, and I'm really excited of how many of you are going to stitch with us. And so it calls for legacy linen from Picture This Plus, which is beautiful. And if you look at this piece, you can kind of see why it calls for legacy linen. It's kind of a greenish, brownish hue. It looks a little spooky. So I think that's why it calls for that. Well, one of our local stitchers named Megan was doing a Plum Street sampler piece, and she did it on a I pictured this plus fabric called Memory, and it's this beautiful kind of plum color, and the halloween colors just looked incredible on it. And so I went and pulled this plum color and pulled all the threads, and I just fell in love. And so that's what I decided to do it on. But this is the plum color, and yes, I should have put it on a piece of whiteboard, and no, I didn't. And these are some of the threads for it, which I think I did show you guys this before. But anyway, you can see how pretty they are on there. And this one does call for needlepoint ink silk, and we do carry the full line of needlepoint ink silks. I haven't stitched a lot with them, and so I thought, well, this is a chance to do it. It gets expensive, I'm going to be honest. One of these guys with as much thread as you have to have if you're going to do it in silk. So a lot of people do it in DMCs, and it's just as beautiful in DMC. So please don't feel like you have to do it with silks. But for me, I really wanted to try the needlepoint ink for a long project and get my head around that. So I started on Halloween. I really only stitched on it 2 stitch knots, so I haven't gotten very far. But that's the first block. And I decided I would, kind of stitch the border. The border's going across and then down, and just, make sure that I was okay with how those borders are going to meet up. I did not have a whole lot of margin on this guy. I feel like you can kind of see how close I started on this side. I think this side was shorter. And I was just using a piece of fabric that was a cutoff from, what somebody else had bought here in the shop. And it didn't have quite the 3-inch margin, so I just want to make sure that that I have enough for it. So that's Halloween of Hoc Hollow, and a whole bunch of other stuff thrown in there. Hope you're okay with that. If you weren't, I hope you fast forwarded through it and you're still hanging with us. I wanted to share a bunch of other things with you today too, so I better stop rambling and show them to you. I want to just mention again M.H. Smith. So this was the reproduction that Claudia Dutcher Kistler did for our Bristol sampler class. And this is exclusive to us and Claudia through the end of this year, and then it opens up to other shops, but we love it because of that red squirrel. And so I hope that if you haven't bought this chart yet and you're interested in it, I hope you buy it from us or Claudia before the year is out, and get your own little red squirrel in progress. He's super cute. We did choose him for our 2020 limited edition squirrel. So he's on project labels, he is on needle minders, he's on a few scissor fobs, and we'll have some more of those scissor fobs out for sale for you too, so that if you want one of those, you can buy them. I have to make those, and I have no spare time, so I make time to make them, but I enjoy how they turn out. They're really pretty. So I hope you love Jack 2020. That's him and his original stance. That's a picture of the antique. But he's a beauty. And this is a beautiful sampler. So we do have a lot of the red silk in stock, or you can do with DMC. Again, this is another big one. And, I believe that the original antiques of the Bristols were stitched with cotton thread. I don't think they were even silk. I could be wrong about that. We do own Harriet Salt, the antique for Harriet Salt. And it's on an incredibly high count. It's on like 80 count. And I'm relatively certain that that is a sewing thread. That is not a silk or a cotton, but I would have to double check that. And Nicola actually charted that, and that's for sale under the Hands Across the Sea label. So we can check her booklet at some point and just confirm that. But I'm pretty sure that the original thread used was not silk because it was an orphanage, and silk was very expensive even then. So, M.H. Smith, Jack 2020. Something else really neat that came into the shop in the last couple weeks is this 2020 Book of Days. And this is from Needlework Press, and we love them. They're one of our favorite sets of people and designers, and they do some really cool things for us for classes too. They sell these really sweet little spiral bound books, and they put images of samplers on those books. And so for a couple of the classes that we've had, we've sent them pictures of our samplers and had them make exclusive ones for us for our classes. And then if we ever have any left over, we go ahead and offer those to you guys. And we did have them make a whole bunch of Jack 2020, so the red squirrel. So as soon as we get those back in stock, we kind of gave them all away in our classes. But as soon as they come back to us, then we'll have those back up for sale for you guys, and you can buy your little spiral bound book. But this is essentially a calendar. So it's a really beautiful, it's got some nice intro, and then it's a sweet calendar. And in the back, there's a couple of antique charts there for you. And this one is a Quaker one. So, and as you know, we actually own a really beautiful Ackworth Quaker that we think was a teaching piece. And it's stunning, and it's called AC Bluebird Quaker. And so if you haven't had a chance to check that out, you can check that out on the website. But we love that one, and it stitches out so pretty. There have been a number of people who finished it, and it is just stunning. The spatial arrangement of it is beautiful, and that's not always true for the Ackworths because they were learning pieces, and sometimes the spatial arrangement was a little bit off. But the one for AC Bluebird is just beautiful. This is actually one of the motifs on AC Bluebird. And you'll notice, just like with the Bristols, a lot of the Quaker motifs show up through different samplers because it was a school and they were learning it there. But this is a really beautiful book. And so we do have these in the shop for sale. I think they're $12. Super popular every year. Every year they sell out. So we just wanted to highlight that one to you because we love it. And I know that there's already a couple of newer samplers out by Hands Across the Sea Samplers. We showed a model in our last Flosstube of Ann Roberts, but we didn't really get to show you the booklet or the threads. And since we put that up, Krista Grammer has announced a stitch along for it. So if you participate in the Facebook group, you can certainly jump out there and join the stitch along. And if you need a link, we'll put it underneath the video here. But it starts in January, and I know a lot of you are already on board. You may have already had your materials, and some people have decided to join, so we've certainly been shipping a lot of materials out for it. We, as a shop, decided to kit it on parchment. It calls for sand, but I will tell you that, I'm sorry, straw, not sand, straw. I will tell you that the dye-lot of straw that was used for the model was a much lighter version of straw than what we have now. And so we felt that it was much better suited for today's parchment, that the parchment is just really the perfect color for it. So I'm going to show you the booklet. Of course, it's Hands Across the Sea. It's just a beautiful booklet. And you've got your history in here, and you've got some of the chart. You've got the beautiful centerfold that Hands Across the Sea puts in here. And then there are usually stitch diagrams in here. One of the things that Hands Across the Sea does, which I think is great, well, they do a pretty large chart. So you've got, you can actually see and stitch from the chart that's in the booklet. You don't really have to enlarge it. Most people don't. They also try to put the legend on, most pages, not every single page, but wherever there's room, they actually put the stitch legend on there. So I think that's fantastic too. So you've got that in here. So just a beautiful booklet. You do learn some information about the things that are pictured here. I think this building does still exist. It's a Welsh sampler. So it's going to be a really fun stitch along. So if you have a chance to join the stitch along, you should certainly do that. I'm going to show you the 100 threes for it. We took some beautiful pictures of the threads with fabric, and I think some of our pictures are what's featured on the stitch along page. And that just happened because I'm not a photographer, but just managed to get some real pretty pictures out there. So this is the parchment fabric, and this is a 46 count that I'm holding up for you. And I don't know what the light is going to look like on the video. And these are the threads. Very hard to hold this up for you where you can see it. But you can always look back at our pictures, I think, and see them online. This is where a professional videographer would do a better job with the threads. I don't think we'll be able to get a good view of all these threads the way I'm going to have to hold this up, but we shall try. So, see if I can get up there where you can see some of the threads before I drop them all. But you can see that all of these threads, the jewel tones, are just really beautiful on the linen. Just as you can see, that's always fun. So that's about the best I can do with getting those threads to lay on the linen for me. Really pretty, beautiful match. And then I know you got to see the model before. I'm going to show it to you again. So this is the model, and this is how the parchment fabric looks with it. So you can see that's a great match for it. So just really pretty. There's another nice view of it. So I hope you think about joining the Stitch Along, especially if you already own the chart. If you do need the supplies, we've got the supplies. We've got plenty of linen, and we've got plenty of silk. So feel free to reach out for us for the supplies for this. We are trying to keep it to parchment because we'll cut straw for you if you want straw, but online it's listed as parchment. So if you want straw, make sure that you ask us for straw. Otherwise, you're going to get parchment. So that's that beautiful book. And what else is going on? Marian Frame. Yes, I've been waiting for this one for over a year. But Marian Frame is just about ready to go to the printer. So this was just a little extract card. And she is a beautiful sampler. She's actually laying here in front of me because we were trying to go through the silks one last time and match them up. And she's just a beauty. And just a lot of depth in the colors in there. And it's kind of neat. It's kind of hard. There were some customers in the shop on Saturday afternoon when we were working on it, and they were like, wow, it's just hard because you look at it under a bug eye, which is a little bitty, this is a bug eye, a little bitty round magnifier, and once I put the bug eye on it, if I needed to, in some cases I put another, like a halo magnifier over the bug eye to try to get a really good look at the colors. And those colors in the same motif can change. And it's just because of fading over time. We've had her out twice and looked at the back already twice. And we may do it a third time. So it's just the way it goes. We're trying not to be obsessive about it. But we really want it to be as close to right as it can be. And so we may end up pulling her back out just one more time. By we, I mean me, this afternoon, maybe. And then I'll have to take her back to the framer again to get her repaired because I just can't do it on my own. I've tried. I'm not a framer. So she'll go back and get put back in there. But she's a really beautiful sampler, and she's going to be our Thanksgiving release unless something goes terribly, horribly wrong. She's just so pretty. I think I showed her to you before. I'm also working on colors for her. These are her colors. This is Corn Tassel from Legacy Linen. I think that's what she's going to end up on. But in Swat Algaes. Now, most of our Sassafras samplers, which is our design company name, we also do in needlepoint ink. So we give you the option for DMCs, Swat Algae, and needlepoint ink almost always because a lot of our local needleworkers love needlepoint ink. And I know a lot of you do too, and so we, try to also give the charting for both. We love Swat Algae, and so we generally will always color match to Swat Algae. So when I'm trying to choose the colors, and my helpers who are helping me diligently try to choose the colors, we look at Swat Algae. That's how we get our color. And so if you want it to be as true as possible, you would stitch it in the Swat Algae because that's where we go to first. And then we convert that over to a DMC and a needlepoint ink. So just bear that in mind. If you happen to pull out a DMC and it's not exactly what you thought it should be, well, that's because we didn't color match it out of the box to a DMC. The colors available in Swat Algae are great. And I know that they often add new colors for us. So the color options that we have in Swat Algae are sometimes finer in the selection availability than we can get certainly in DMC, although we know that there are lots of colors in DMC. But having said that, it's still beautiful stitched in DMC, and it's still very beautiful stitched in needlepoint ink. And, you know, whatever you've got, you know, the biggest selection of, or whatever your preference is for stitching, it's still going to be beautiful. And so don't feel like you have to go out and invest in a whole new line of threads or silks to do it. It's still going to be quite beautiful in either one of those. I'll show her to you again because she's laying here. She's not out yet, but she probably will be by the end of the day here. So you can see she stitched it when she was 8 years old. I love the hearts and the deer. We've pulled a few little freebies from her over time, here and there. And those two big flowers at the bottom are actually different. They look very similar, and they are very similar, but they actually do have some small differences. That gray-blue color on the crown and a few other places, that's what we've been struggling with a lot to make sure that it's color matched. So that's Marian Frame, and I really, really hope that she's available to you by Thanksgiving. That's my plan. Maybe when I say Thanksgiving, maybe it's going to be Black Friday or a Cyber Monday, but sometime, you know, in the next week and a half, 2 weeks, we hope to have her out there to you. She's been a long time coming. I really wanted to make her an anniversary sampler for Everett and I. And our anniversary is in October, but just couldn't get it done. We had a lot going on in October. I don't know if you knew about that, but we did, and it was all good. We had a great time. It was a great October. So anyway, Marian Frame, be on the lookout. I know you guys keep asking me for her. The little card is out there and available now if you want the little card. You know, so this is the front of the card. The back of the card has a little design on it, and so, you know, if you need the little card, feel free to hop out there and get her. We'll probably do something else with some of that stuff that's fun. And then, because I'm kind of crazy, and because I had some friends here for our soiree who were working on long dogs and, you know, talking to me about long dogs, I jumped in the pool on not one long dog, but 2. So we were supposed to start a stitch along on November 1st, and I think they started without me. Bless my little heart, as we would say down south. I really, really wanted to start stitching with them, and I really had every intent of getting the first stitch in there on November the 1st. We had stitch night on Halloween, and you know, I did start Hoc Hollow Halloween's, you know, at Hoc Hollow on Halloween. And November 1st, I was supposed to start my long dog with my group, and I just could not. I didn't have the time to do it during the day, and by the time Friday was over, man, I was wiped out because this shop gets busy. You know, and I know you guys wonder, I will address this on this video. I take a lot of heat over the fact that we don't answer the phone every time it rings. You should come spend a day in this shop, and I love all of you, and I'm so grateful for your support. It's really hard for us to answer every phone call. A lot of the time when you call, we're on the phone. We're on the phone with somebody else. And as soon as we get off the phone either rings again or we're helping another customer. And at the end of the day, honestly, I really am. I'm just kind of wiped out. And so I do try to get through as many of those voicemails as I can in the next morning or throughout the next couple of days, but it's hard for me to keep up with. So it's not because I don't appreciate you, and it's not because I don't, enjoy talking to you, because if you've ever gotten to talk to me on the phone, you know I do enjoy talking to you. It's hard. And we're getting there. We are, getting our staff in place, and we're getting staffed up, and, but we really focus a lot on shipping. We try to get our shipping done, and I know we're a little slow on that too. But that's because we're doing custom cuts. So, whenever you buy something from a shop who sells you only a fat half or fat quarter or a fat eighth, it gets out the door a lot quicker than when you buy from a shop who's going to custom cut it for you, or who's going to talk to you about the fabric that you might want, or who's going to take the time to, cross over your threads or your fibers to what you've asked us for. So all those things take time, and it makes us a little bit slower, but I hope you appreciate the product that you get. We are not next day shipping most of the time unless it's urgent and we know about it, or it's not a, if it's not a custom cut or something like that. But we are still trying to work through things in order. But I think you'll find in the next few weeks that all those things will start to settle themselves out, and we'll pick up a lot of speed just because of our new staffing. So we're excited about that, and I hope you're excited about it too. But I hope that every package you get from us, you know that it's had a lot of love all along this little path. So from the time that we order whatever we're ordering, to the time it comes into the shop, to the time that we, put it together with its little brethren. If it's a thread pack, each one of those thread packs has to be kitted out, or the fabric cut, or we choose the fabric for it. All those things that happen to it before we ever pull it for your order. And then the person who sits down to package it for you, each one of the people that package the things for us, they do it with a lot of love too. I hope you can feel that too. They enjoy doing it. It's a pleasure. People actually kind of, I won't say they fight over it, but they volunteer freely to do the packaging, because it's fun, because they know that when you open it, you're going to love it. And so, it has a lot of love all along its path when it gets to you. So I hope you forgive us when we're a little bit slower than Amazon getting your stuff out to you. But we are trying hard, and we'll definitely pick up speed coming soon. So I want to show you my long dog choice. I had two. I'm going to show you one of them. And the one that I want to start on first is the Templar Prophecy. And it's the newest one. The other one is the Pilgrim. I really like the Pilgrim too. But let me show you the Templar Prophecy. Try to take it out of this bag. So this is what the chart looks like. And I love, 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 love the dragons. So there's lots of dragons in this. They're all over it. It's just really beautiful. Very excited about it. What I decided to do with it was, I wanted to do a little bit of color. This is the fabric that I chose for it. It's a Picture This Plus, and it's called Tarnish, and I don't know that you'll be able to see it very well without something light behind it, so maybe you can see that one part of it. It's called Tarnish, and it's really pretty. It's kind of I'd say a blue-green-gray kind of thing, kind of a sea green thing. It's really, really pretty, and Tarnish is a pretty big go-to color for me. And so I went out and I found the overdyed flosses that I wanted to match with the fabric first, and these were my choices. They are both Gentle Art, as it worked out. I've got to practice this. Maybe I need a helper. So you can see the kind of the gray brown. It's really a gray brown. It's called Garden Gate. We actually use this color in our AC Bluebird Quaker. So this is Garden Gate, and then the other one is called Red Plum. And so what I plan to do with that is the majority of the sampler, if we look back at it again, would be a monochrome, and I would use the Garden Gate for it, which I think will be real pretty on the tarnished fabric. And then where I want to make some things pop, like on the dragons. So you can see this beautiful coat here on this horse, or this beautiful coat on this dragon. Somehow I'm going to work in this Red Plum to make some things pop out, but the majority of the sampler would be on the Garden Gate. And so then that brought up the question of affordability, right? And so, we all love our needlework, and, I appreciate it when you purchase things from us, but this takes a lot of thread, and I really wanted to be conscious of, how I was going to pay for the thread. And so I went to the Sulky line, and I found some things that I thought were really good alternatives. And so this is, I don't know what color it's called. Sulky's Pearl number 12 is what this is. Petites. It does have a color number, but this is 1234. If my 52-year-old eyes don't deceive me, or 51 and a half. So I may use the Sulkies. I couldn't get an exact match for the plum, but I also like this variegated floss from Sulky, and I think it would be just as pretty on this fabric. And so I'm not quite sure how I'm going to attack that. I think this is called 4032. But these spools are $1.69, and they have 50 yards. a single strand on here. Well, that was the other thing. This tarnish is a 28 count, again, because it was a leftover piece. And the margin on it's not quite what it should be, but on a 28 count, usually you have to use 2 strands. Well, 2 strands of anything is going to get expensive on a long dog, and also kind of annoying. And so I wanted to go single strand. So I think these are going to be my substitutes, and I will get it started because my group started without me, I'm pretty sure, and I've got to get back in the groove. And so I think I'm going to go with these on this tarnish. I think I like it pretty good. I tend to like conservative colors with a pop of not so conservative color. And so I think I will really enjoy something like that. But that's my long dog. One of them. The other one is the Pilgrim, and I'll wait on that. The other thing I want to do for you, there are a number of people who have, asked me about stitching on linen for the first time or converting over to linen. And so I want to illustrate the way I teach people how to do that. There's a lot of different methods, and I've talked about it before, but attached to this video is going to be a little video, a teaching video, here at the end about stitching on linen. So I would encourage you, if you are new to linen, to give it a try. Don't feel like you have to, though, because there's beautiful, beautiful colors out there in Ada. But if you would like to jump over to linen, hopefully this little video will help you. And I would absolutely love it if those of you who have a friend who wants to learn, if this is a great, if you decide you want to teach them with this little method, please do it. I teach people at least 3 or 4 times a week here in the shop. This is how I teach them, and I send them off with a piece of fabric and some thread to practice with, and so far so good. And I will tell you that there are some people I know who tried to learn how to stitch on linen at some point in their life, in their career, and it didn't go well, and they have refused to try again. And that's okay, because there is beautiful Ada out there. But the reason why they've refused to try again hurts my heart a little bit. And it's because the way that they got taught just wasn't right for them. And so while when you sit down to teach people, please do it with an open heart and an open mind, and let them learn at their own pace and give them lots of encouragement. We don't all have to be cookie cutter just like each other, and they don't have to get everything perfect the first time through. They can learn the finer techniques as they get better and go along. Teach them the basics and let them enjoy the process, and make sure that they've got the right lighting and the right magnification so that it's not such a struggle for them. Maybe teach them with a flower thread so that they're not worrying about 2 strands to begin with, or a single strand like the Sulky Pearl number 12s. That's a good thread to learn with so that they don't have to deal with 2 strands right out of the box. All those good things that we know about needlework can come later. It's a lifetime experience. It's a lifetime of learning, and it's a lifetime of sharing. So don't feel like this is the only 5 minutes you're going to have to teach somebody, Get the basics out there and let them enjoy the process and enjoy their time with you as their friend, and make it fun. And if they love it and they take on with it, that's fantastic. And if they decide, yeah, I just don't like it, that's okay too. You're still friends. You can do some other things together. And so, that's my little tidbit on that. But if you want to have a look at that, I would encourage you, not just for the people who want to learn, but for the people who want to teach. Check out this method. There are lots of other methods, and if you've got friends that you want to teach, don't just watch one method of teaching. Look at all of them and pick out the one that you think is best for your friend and for you as a person who's going to be teaching them. And and just enjoy the process. In my mind was flashing Yoda because I saw this thing on Yoda last night, and Luke Skywalker and him teaching Luke, and Anyway, you have to be a Star Wars fan, and I'm a Trekkie. So I get the Yoda thing. I get it. But I'm a Trekkie. I'm a hardcore Trekkie. I love me some Captain Kirk. So, anyway, I hope that you enjoyed this crazy rambling video. I hope you stay tuned for the little teaching video here at the end. And everything I've told you about how the shop's come around, how much I appreciate you, those things are all true. So thank you for being out there. Thank you for watching the videos. Thank you for subscribing to the videos. Thank you for coming to the shop. And thank you for ordering from us online. We appreciate you. And whether we're a big shop or a little shop or an in-between shop, we're just doing what we love, and we'll keep doing it until probably I can't do it anymore. So I'll keep you in the loop on all things Sassy Jacks, and if and when we get moved down the road, you'll be the first to know about it. Probably before I do, because I just don't know when that's going to happen. We're working hard on it, though. I would love to see it happen. I don't think it'll happen in the next year or two, though, but we've got to get a classroom building built. That's our big roadblock, and our builders here are just crazy busy. So anyway, I hope you have a fantastic Thanksgiving. If I don't get to talk to you again before then, we will have a newsletter that comes out before Thanksgiving or right around Thanksgiving. Make sure you take a read, and make sure you read all the way to the end. Thanksgiving is one of the times that we like to be thankful to you. I'll leave that at that. You can take a little look in that. And thank you to all the people who are stitching that Saxon band sampler. What a pleasure that's been to see you loving on that. We've got the one for next year charted. It's not a band sampler. I'm looking up to where it usually hangs. It's not hanging there. It's off with its charter getting finished up. And so we're pretty excited about that one. It's different, and I think you're going to love it. It may not start in January because we're a little bit slow getting through the Saxon, and I want to give you enough time to get your materials for the next one. So we'll finish up the Saxon. We're not going to be rushing through anything. We'll bring out the next one when it's time, but I want to give you time to get your materials for that. On that note, one thing I do want to talk to you about is the materials for the Learning Stitches sampler. So a lot of you have bought the booklet for that, which is fantastic. I'm working on the little classroom, and hopefully I'll get that launched by early December. There are a number of choices of banding. You don't have to use just the one that I showed. There's a lot of other ones that you can use because the process is really about learning the stitches, which means that they're not going to fit perfectly on that banding. You may have to do extra stitches in the row. You may have to do fewer stitches in the row, depending on the width of the banding, and that's okay. And this is to teach you that that's okay, because you want to be able to transfer those stitches to other arenas, and your boundaries on those other stitching pieces that you do may be different than what they were on the banding. In fact, I'm relatively certain that they will be. So it's all about getting comfortable with the fact that you know the stitch, you know how it's composed, you know how to do it, and you can apply that to something else. And so I'm going to be posting the banding online for you, and I'm going to be setting up the classroom, and we're going to be doing some other fun things with that. I have talked to Jeanette Douglas, who is the designer for the book. She's just thrilled that we are doing this, and that you guys are so excited about it. It was her dream for this book, for people to do exactly what we're doing with it. So, I just couldn't be happier. Jeanette is actually on the schedule to come and teach here too in 2021, I believe. It's hard for me to think that far out. But, she's one of my favorite people. And, I think you're going to enjoy the things that she has provided for us to use in the stitch along. And I hope that you, if you haven't signed up yet and you're thinking about it, definitely jump on board with us. All you need is the book, the banding, or you can use a piece of fabric from your stash, and then you can use your threads from your stash. And it'll just be a lot of fun. So don't worry, all that stuff is coming together for you. We're working toward the early part of December for the classroom opening, and we're just letting everybody get their book and their banding and all that good stuff. But in the next video, I will show you some additional banding choices, and I will certainly have those online for you coming up here real soon. So again, happy Thanksgiving. I hope you enjoy some time with your family, your friends. If you're on your own, take a little time and enjoy, your stitching. and know that we appreciate you out there, and you've got a big family in the stitching world, and you know, just have a good holiday, and we will see you back soon. Thank you for listening to me. Bye.